For better or for worse, the way someone shows up in your life is the way they want to show up in your life. We can make excuses for them all day, but their behavior is no accident. It's a reflection of how they feel about you. So if their actions show you that they will literally prioritize anything else over you, guess what? You're not a priority to them. And that seems pretty simple, right? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. But if it's that simple, why do so many smart people end up trapped in confusing, painful dynamics? Well, there's a good reason, and we're about to explore why and how this happens, so you can make sure it never happens to you again. My name is Christina, and I help people stop making excuses for the people who hurt them and start rewriting the internal script that told them they had to in the first place. So why do we keep making excuses for the people who prove over and over that we're not a priority? Because they've trained us to. And the system they target isn't your logic. Because if it was, you would see through it right away, right? Because their excuses usually don't make any kind of sense. What they're actually targeting is your nervous system. So here's something most people don't know. Everything you think, feel, believe, or react to starts in your nervous system. So your thoughts and beliefs aren't random. They're responses. And more literally, they're how your brain translates deeper signals from your body. And there you go. Now you're officially smarter than most people. But stick around because what I'm about to show you will change how you relate to yourself and to others forever. But first, let's be clear on the system we're talking about. So what is your nervous system? Well, you can think of it like your body's operating system. It runs the show behind the scenes 24/7, and it includes your brain, spinal cord, and a massive network of nerves that reach into every part of your body. And the system is constantly processing signals from your environment, so from sight, sound, touch, and more. And it's processing these signals to decide how to respond. But here's the wild part. Before you even have a conscious thought, your nervous system has already acted. And if you think about it, you've probably noticed this firsthand. That pit in your stomach or tightness in your chest is a visceral reaction that happens first. And it's not long before your mind starts trying to make sense of it. But these things don't happen simultaneously. It's a very specific order: feeling, then thought. And I know all this nervous system stuff might feel like a detour, but this is actually the missing link in why you keep tolerating less than you deserve. And once you get this, you'll stop asking, why did I let them treat me like that? And start understanding what you can do about it. And this is where it clicks for a lot of people. So think of your nervous system like a home alarm system. It's programmed to alert you the moment something feels off, like a potential threat to your safety or overall well-being. But once that alarm goes off, you, the homeowner, get to check the system, assess the situation, and decide how you want to respond. But here's where it gets tricky. Your idea of what's safe or unsafe is coming from your deeper programming, including all your lived experiences, and especially the ones that taught you that chaos was normal, or that love had to hurt. So sometimes the alarm sounds and you check the footage, and you see someone who reminds you of what you've known before. Someone who carries the same emotional energy as a parent, a past partner, or someone else who once hurt you. And you say, nope, this isn't a threat. This person loves me. And just like that, you open the door. Without a second thought, you silence the alarm and you let the intruder in, simply because they feel familiar. And that basically describes the role we didn't know we had as homeowner of our nervous system. Because we do get to decide who and what is safe, regardless of our past experiences. So now let's bring this back to the topic at hand. How manipulative people get you to lower your standards. Well, like I said, they don't target your mind, they target your nervous system. And here's how it usually works. At first, they flood you with validation. So you'll get compliments, deep eye contact, sudden emotional intimacy, and it feels like connection. But it doesn't exactly feel like connection in your nervous system. It actually feels like safety. And that's the first hit. your nervous system feels regulated around them. And if nothing changed, this would remain a healthy relationship. But we're not talking about healthy relationships here, are we? And so this is when the nervous system attack begins. This is when someone pulls back, gets cold, or disappears. This is when they show you exactly who they are. And this is when your alarm system starts to sound. Something is off, and your nervous system wants to balance it again. So when they return with another text, apology, or some half-assed breadcrumb of effort, your nervous system floods with relief. And the relief is directly related to the alarm. So if the alarm was intense, the relief has to be equally intense to balance it out. And both the alarm and the relief are chemical releases. But you only become addicted to one, the relief. It's like a rush of feel-good chemicals that don't normally come in such high doses. And in that way, this becomes very much like a drug addiction. And you're not even really chasing connection with this person. Your body is actively chasing regulation. And here's where it gets dangerous, because once your body gets hooked, your mind follows. And now your brain kicks in and starts trying to make it all make sense. It tells you stories to explain away the discomfort. Oh, they're just stressed. And you know what? It's not that big of a deal. They didn't mean it that way. But those excuses are your brain's way of protecting you from the pain of admitting that you're not safe here anymore. And more than that, they're your brain's way of keeping the cycle going and making sure another hit of those feel-good chemicals is just around the corner. And this is how manipulative people can show you exactly who they are, yet you still find yourself rationalizing their behavior to make it okay. So let's look at what happens when this plays out over time, because eventually their behavior stops surprising you. They ghost, they blame, and they shift moods without warning. Maybe they lie to you and cheat on you. And after a while, you find yourself bracing for it. So you start telling yourself things like, you know what, that's just how they are. Or at least they're still here. Or worse, you know what, maybe it was all my fault. And let's be honest, some of the excuses you're making for them don't even make sense. But you keep making them anyway. Or worse, you accept their excuses even when you know they're bold-faced lies. Because facing the truth hurts more than clinging to the lie. And so instead of hoping for that happily ever after you once imagined, now you just hope for a peaceful day. And so you learn that you have to be the one to meet your own needs, because you've lowered your expectations so much that you know better than to even ask them to treat you with the same respect you've shown them, or maybe even just basic human decency. And what you might not realize is that this is also your nervous system trying to regulate itself. Because just like you're addicted to the rush of feel-good chemicals, you also instinctively want to avoid the rush of feel-bad chemicals like cortisol. So instead of risking all that again, you lower your standards, your voice, and your expectations. And when all is said and done, we can be really hard on ourselves for behaving this way. We'll call ourselves stupid and weak. You might even think that you've got to hate yourself for putting up with someone who treats you so badly. But the opposite is true. You weren't settling because you hate yourself. You were settling because your body thought it was the only way to stay safe. But thankfully now, we know better. Now we know how much power we've given to the nervous system and how it's impacted our thoughts and behaviors. And now you get to step into a role you were never taught to play, the homeowner to your nervous system's alarm. Because the alarm was never meant to be the whole story. And so instead of reacting instantly with what feels right in the moment, you can pause, evaluate, and act in a way that protects you and not the pattern. So what now? If your nervous system was trained to keep you in toxic dynamics and excuse bad behavior, how do you retrain it to recognize respect, consistency, and peace as the new baseline? Step one is awareness. You can't break a pattern you don't know you're in. So when the alarm goes off and your body feels activated, panicked, or craving someone who's mistreated you, name what's happening. And we're not shaming ourselves here. We're slowing the cycle down so we can evaluate whether this familiar thing is actually dangerous. Step two, set micro boundaries. So when you look for advice on dealing with manipulators, narcissists, and toxic people, the advice you'll most often see is to go no contact as soon as you see the red flags. And this might work really well for some of you, especially if it's a new relationship. But what if it's someone who's been in your life since birth? Or someone you've been married to for 30 years and are just starting to realize how bad things are and maybe have always been? These micro boundaries will help. It's not about cutting people off right away. You can make that decision when you're ready. But it's about small, consistent acts of self-respect. So maybe that means answering a text when you're ready. Speaking up even when it means they might pull away or try to make you the villain. Or maybe it means saying, I need a minute, instead of rushing in to make peace or accept a lame apology. Every time you do these things, you're showing your system that it's safe to have needs. It's safe to protect your peace. And you don't have to abandon yourself to be loved, whether by them or, if that's a lost cause, by others. Step 3, create new associations. Remember that your nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to experience. So you have to show it over and over what safety feels like. And that might mean spending more time with people who don't spike your anxiety, or letting your body relax in environments where you don't have to perform, or even sitting with the discomfort of peace and reminding yourself it's okay to feel calm without worrying that another shoe is about to drop. And you can also create new associations through self-regulation. So maybe this is breathwork, movement, or simply pausing to name what you feel instead of reacting to it. So the more often you pair peace with presence of mind, the less your system will crave the chaos it used to call home. So if you follow this 3-step process, you can retrain your nervous system to respond appropriately, even when what's dangerous once felt familiar. But here's the truth. It takes time. You've been running these patterns for years, and while it won't take quite that long to recode them, it's still a lengthy process. And if you're thinking this all makes sense, but I don't want to spend years retraining my system, there's some good news. There actually is a science-backed way to recode the part of your system that learned to let toxic people in and kept you wanting to go back to them. And it works at the level of emotional memory. And that's the place where your definitions of safety, love, and connection were first shaped. And I'm constantly amazed at how quickly this process works with my coaching clients. So if you're ready to stop giving manipulative people a pass and finally rewrite the system that's been letting them in, click here to book your sessions with me. And if you want to learn how to respond to those toxic people in the meantime, click here to learn the one phrase that will get them to stop twisting your words and start respecting your boundaries.